What's up, guys? So today got another request to do the S24 FE versus the S22 Plus. Should you make this upgrade? It's a pretty interesting upgrade here. The S22 Plus just got the One UI 7 update, and there's definitely some upgrades here, but I don't think it might not be as significant as a lot of you guys are thinking. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get started with the hardware. First off, it looks like the S24 is just a little bit bigger than the S22 Plus here, and they're pretty similar in terms of build. They kind of feel similar in the hand, and you can see the only design difference is really the S22 has this cutout, and you actually, to me, do have a lot better colors with the S24 FE. I just like the colors that they put out, but yes. As far as the design, I mean, they're both premium designs. You have a glossy finish versus a matte finish, but with this particular color, you really don't see fingerprints at all, so it's not really a big deal. And yeah, hardware-wise, they feel pretty much the same. They're IP68 dust and water resistant, both of them. And yeah, so it's not a lot going on here with the hardware. As far as weight and size, it's not that much different. As far as the display goes, guys, I would actually say the S22 Plus has a more aesthetically pleasing display, but as far as the specs, they're actually pretty similar with the S24 here, having the higher max brightness. So the S24 FE, it actually has a 6.7 inch display, so it's just a little bit bigger, and you can see that the bezel difference here is pretty obvious, especially at the bottom there. So it does make it look a little bit cheaper compared to the S22 Plus. And color-wise, they both pretty much look the same. I think the S22 Plus looks a little bit more vivid, but they're very close, actually. Now, you can turn extra vividness on the S24 Plus, because when you don't turn it on, it looks kind of dull. But yeah, so 6.7 inch display, dynamic AMOLED, 120 Hertz, HDR10 Plus. We do have a higher max brightness, like I said, 1900 nits. And it is 1080p 385. This has the Victus Plus display. Now with the S22 Plus, same thing, dynamic AMOLED display, 120 Hz, HDR10 Plus, with a lower max brightness of 1750 nits. Is it noticeable? A little bit, but it's not like dramatically different. But yeah, you can see it just a little bit better in direct sunlight. And it's also 1080p 393, and this has the Victus Plus as well. And yeah, so it's kind of an interesting trade-off. You're kind of downgrading when it comes to the bezel or screen to body ratio, but you're upgrading slightly when it comes to max brightness. So it's kind of interesting. As far as the quality of the panel, like I said, they both pretty much look the same with some slight color differences. But yeah, overall, I would probably I still just like the slimmer bezels on the S22, because it's, like I said, it's not that much brighter, right? All right, so as far as the speed, we have the Exynos chip, and then we have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I've never had a big issue with it. I believe that these are the best scores, and so the scores are, will look something like this, right? Obviously, you're going to get better scores with this Exynos chipset, a lot better. You can see in the multi-core, we're at 6200 versus almost 3800. But yeah, so overall, it doesn't really feel that much different, even if we do like a lot of apps. So I might do a full speed test, because I am kind of curious. But Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, we have the Exynos 2400E, and they're both kind of similarly optimized for PUBG, and they both have 128 gigs of internal storage and 8 gigs of RAM on the base model. They both feel exactly the same. Maybe in time, right, they'll feel a little bit different, but right now you really can't tell the difference. I think the main difference, so the main difference, this Exynos processor does not heat up like the 8 Gen 1 does if you're doing like more intense task and stuff like that. So it is something that I noticed. But yeah, as you guys can see, like animation consistency is really good on the S22. It's very smooth, and yeah, just getting into applications is really nice. 3D Mark, Okay, this is what we're working with Wildlife Extreme. Not a big difference, but you definitely do get a little bit of performance boost here when it comes to gaming. Okay. So animations and consistency is pretty much even. Like I said, I don't get a lot of, chances to mess with these Exynos processors, but this one has been pretty good. This Exynos 2400E. No heating problems, very smooth. Really no issues here. And one of the things I noticed on the channel with a lot of my subscribers is these Exynos chipsets. I don't know if it's just the Exynos ones, but they get a lot of green line issues. So I said I was going to look into that, make a video about that. But I'm curious if it's just the Exynos versions of these Samsung phones where you get a green line. But as you guys can see, not a crazy difference in performance, really. Unfortunately, we should be able to play PUBG at 120 frames on the S24 FE. It's just not optimized, so they actually play at the same settings at 90 frames. And yeah, let me see. Yeah, it's very smooth, of course. Yeah, the S22 is very smooth. This does feel a little bit, so I wonder if the FPS is higher on this, because the S24 feels a little bit quicker. This is also something that you need to note with the software. So Samsung was nice enough to bring Galaxy AI down to the older phones, which they really didn't have to do. They really could have just kept it as a feature to sell newer phones, but you do get some of the AI features, which is nice here. Now you are going to be missing a few, and it's just like audio eraser, the photo ambient wallpaper, which is okay. It's not really that cool. The health assist is not here. That's pretty much it. Everything else is here. So you get a lot of the essential AI features, which is nice, so you're not really missing out. Now, as the years go on and they start adding stuff, then that's when you'll start to notice a difference. But for right now, there is, not a big difference here. It really depends on if you like the AI stuff. The new Gemini here, Circle to Search, has been here for a minute. And yeah, so overall, I'm pretty happy with the software. The software is pretty similar. So if you are thinking about upgrading, you have to be thinking about well into the future, because this is getting One UI 8 as well. But like I said, if they're already stripping back AI features and AI stuff is something that you like, just take that into consideration, so you might not get whatever stuff that they're gonna add. Let's check out these speakers at max volume. S24 is definitely a little bit louder, but it's not as clean as the S22. It's the first thing you kind of notice. The speaker just sounds a little bit cheaper. The bass is way better on the S24 FE though. It just doesn't sound as clean. Like the sound that I'm thinking of it would be like an S24 Ultra, maybe the S23 Ultra. That would be like that perfect balance sound, but this doesn't sound like, it's got the bass, but the overall sound, it sounds a little bit cheaper. And it doesn't sound bad. You could probably tweak this, equalize it with Adobe Atmos settings. So I'm just showing you guys what it looks like, without messing around with it. But yeah, the speakers aren't bad at all on the FE. The fingerprint scanner, right? It is a optical. I don't have an issue with it. It works. No, it's not as fast as the ultrasonic, but it works. It gets the job done. You can always use face unlock as well. But yeah, of course the ultrasonic is going to be quicker, so you can kind of tap these lighter and quicker and it'll register. But it's something that most people won't notice because it's so subtle now, because they've got these optical ones down, to a science at this point. It's actually pretty good. All right, so do the cameras look better on the S24 FE is the question here. So with the S24, we do have a 50 megapixel standard, 8 megapixel telephoto 3 times. This goes up to 30 times. And then we also have a 12 megapixel ultra wide. We can shoot in 8K 30 and it has a 10 megapixel selfie that can shoot in 4K 60. The S22 Plus has a 50 megapixel standard as well, 10 megapixel telephoto 3 times with your 30 times max, and this can shoot in 8K 24, and it also has a 12 megapixel ultra wide. We also have a 10 megapixel selfie that can shoot in 4K 60. As far as battery performance, guys, the battery life on the S24 FE is actually very good. Since I had the phone, standby time is great. Screen on time is great. It is definitely a little bit better than the S22 Plus for sure. The S22 Plus's battery life is not bad, either. It's like a slight difference. This has a 4700 milliamp hour battery, 25 watt charging, wireless and reverse. This has a 4500 milliamp hour battery. The thing here is that you're actually downgrading charging speeds. The S22 Plus has 45 watts again versus the 25 watts, and it's kind of a noticeable difference, kinda. You really only notice it if you have to really go somewhere, and this will charge a little bit faster. But honestly, they're both kind of slow in 2025. Also wireless and reverse wireless charging. So yes, the battery life is a little bit better. Just because this is Xenos chipset, surprisingly, it does better with standby and not draining and stuff like that. But yeah, overall, me personally, I don't think this is a upgrade at all, unless you really like the updates and the AI stuff. But I don't really see where you're actually upgrading. I wasn't impressed with the cameras at all. I don't think the battery life upgrade is significant. It has to be strictly software. Like, I want to future proof and get that full 7 years of major OS updates. Because honestly, you're downgrading when it comes to not necessarily the screen, but how the screen to body ratio just looks like a cheaper phone from the front. But the phones are too similar for this to be an upgrade. It would be different if we had this had like a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 or something. Then it would be different because we could play PUBG at 120 frames. We could play other games at better settings. But I mean, honestly, I don't think this is worth the upgrade. So I'm gonna actually say no on this one, unless you just really want the upgrade and you got a good price.